And his opponent, spawning down in the bottom left. He is the Night King from NC Sports. Give it up for the finisher, the GOAT. It is Serral. I've committed the cardinal sin. I've called him the GOAT, and now I expect that the StarCraft 2 fanboy police will be arriving any moment to chop off all my limbs and sacrifice me at the altar of Rogue or Maru or Dark or Stats or Zest or literally anyone, Raynor, who has a legitimate claim to potentially being the GOAT. But, you know, there's plenty of body parts to go around.
Steadfast, are you telling me that that was a bad mistake?
Oh my God, that was brilliant. Yes. Well done, you.
It's going to be interesting, though. I mean, this game, we've talked about it a little bit. uThermal had a surprisingly good start to his group, right? You know, he went, I believe, 3-0, 3-1, something like that. And we're like, okay, wow, you know, uThermal on a bit of a resurgence here. And then he goes and he loses to Mana. And then we see him tweet and he says, yeah, I'm retired now. Oh, no, sorry, he beat Mana. Who did he lose to that had him tweet that he was retired? Skillous, yes.
Skillous, yes. Yeah. Because that knocked him out of contention of top 2 in the group, I believe. Unless he somehow manages to 2-0 Serral. I think it is... I think he can't finish top 2, but even then he would have to... could he... No, he can't do it. Skillous would finish ahead of him. Right now. He's... Wouldn't he?
Yeah. No, because they would be tied on map wins, then we go to map score.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I mean. I mean, finish ahead of him in terms of like the standings. Yeah.
Yes.
A little bit of micro coming in. uThermal getting a Zergling here. That's pretty nice. You love to see it. Oh, he's good. Oh my God, he wanted that creep tumor, but that was a little bit too low HP on the Reaper for him to actually stick around, and he wisely disengages. Doesn't lose that Reaper. You really, really don't want to give Serral any advantages in the early game. But something else we've got to talk about is uThermal. He needs to win one map to guarantee himself a playoff spot. This is not an easy situation he finds himself in.
No, it really isn't. And we see uThermal, he's put his pot of greed down in this game. This is a third CC before anything else. And Steadfast, I don't know of many Zergs that I would be more afraid of just trying to stiff arm into the late game than Serral. I mean, Raynor, you know, he's a fantastic player, but he is very much a mid-game Zerg that can play late. Serral is a late-game Zerg that can play mid. So if I'm uThermal and I'm saying, look, I'm going to sacrifice the majority of my agency on the map by going for this quick third, it means Serral's creep spread is going to get out of control. It means he's going to get 4 or 5 bases pretty quickly, 83 workers, 86 workers, and a Serral that is uncontested in the early game. I mean, that is it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what uThermal's plan is for this game by just gifting Serral such an easy early game.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's never any good game plan, because if you go for a cheese or you go for an aggressive, 2-gas 1-1-1 2-base opening with, let's say, Viking or Hellion Liberator or Hellion Cloak Banshee or something like that, you're still going to find yourself in a situation where you have to break through Serral's defenses, and he's probably not going to leave any openings. We did see, by the way, a Widowmine start up there, but that was just, I think, a misclick as uThermal cancels it and switches things off. It will just be 6 cars to start things off. But there really is no comfort zone against a player like Serral. Like, there's no point of the game where I'm like, oh man, I'd really be happy to play against Serral's this. And even to that point where you're saying, Raynor's more of a little bit of a mid-game oriented, timing-oriented player. If I were to give them scores out of 100, I would give, let's say, Serral a 100 in the late game, and, a 97 to 99 in everything else. And then Raynor, like a 100 in the mid game and a 97 to a 99 in everything else. Like, it's you are right, they have slight specialties, but they're just so damn good at everything that you can't even really call them weaknesses in other areas. It's like someone was saying how Serral's ZVZ on Aligulac is his weakest matchup, but it still puts him at the strongest ZVZ in the world by a huge amount.
Which is, of course, interesting because Raynor recently 4-0'd him in that matchup, and it honestly did not look all that close. But that is, again, that's when you have these top players that say, everyone has a claim to being the top 1 or top 2 or whatever top players in the world. We do see those rankings; they don't matter nearly as much because they just are so good. But we're talking about early game play, right? About uThermal kind of gifting Serral the situation. Steadfast, we're not even at 6 minutes into this game, and Serral already has half the map creeped.
Yeah, and it's not like uThermal has ceded that to him. He's been active with his Hellions. It's just that Serral is so damn good, and you can't give him anything. You give him an inch, he'll take 7 miles. Actually, no, he'll take 10 kilometers because he's European.
He wears 7 league boots.
Exactly. We are, by the way, seeing a very quick baneling speed out of Serral. This is a classic Serral opening. He was doing this for a long time when he was, the best mechanical player in the world and other people weren't that close. He was just, it's a way for him to play very safely, and it shows a lot of confidence, and obviously he has that in spades when it comes to his own gameplay.
Spades, rakes, hose, all these wonderful things. But uThermal finally now on the map and knocking away one screen of creep, but there's more where that came from. And one thing Zergs for a while now have been very good at is, and this is actually something that Scarlet was pushing back a couple years ago, this idea of the moment you take a fight or the moment the Terran leaves creep whatsoever, your queens need to go at the furthest extent of that creep and start pushing back once again, because especially now with all the creep nerfs and how it recedes much faster, you're going to lose that pretty quickly. So you got to push them to the very edge, make sure you don't lose too much space. And we can already see uThermal, he did a great job. He knocked a screen worth of creep out. It's actually further than it once was.
Yeah. This little spot through the middle right here that I'm looking at is actually a bit of a point where, to that point, Serral did not immediately respread it. He is respreading it now, and he does still have very, very good creep everywhere. And honestly, not a whole lot has happened yet in this game. But uThermal, he's got a couple of openings, and he is going to set up for an attack on this 4th base location. This is a little bit scary right now for Serral, but nope, never mind. uThermal says, nah. This is not enough. You're too good. I need to just basically create openings for the later stages, but then that means Serral just rebuilds it.
Steadfast, this is not North America. You say you, not nah. We get to say that in a couple series.
It's so dumb. I love it. Oh, this wraparound.
Oh, this is sick
Serral.
here.
Oh, he's going to catch him a little bit on siege. He's going to jump on this from 2 sides. The tank target fire on the banelings, not enough. That big cluster on the right does force the lift off. The big star of that fight, all 3 tanks taken out very, very cost efficiently on a relative term for Serral.
And now uThermal truly is saying because he just lost so much there on the map, but his 4th base is halfway to a planetary. He's still in that ballpark of being within 1 base of the Zerg. His 2-2 is faster. He's getting into late game. But I'm really curious as to what Serral is doing here, because he has his hive just about done very quickly. But we have not seen any tech. There's no Spire. There is no Hydra Den. We're not going to see Lurkers necessarily. It looks like he just wants to go straight into Ultras, which I don't really like all that well, but if he's able to keep taking fights like this one right here, it's absolutely going to work out for him as the Baileys. They just crash into everything. These tanks die once again. And uThermal just should not be... uThermal, don't show on the left side of the map. We've proven now that the left is the sinister, and therefore not good for you. So maybe you try the right side. Maybe that'll be a little bit easier.
Okay, so we got to talk about something here, because uThermal had 2 pretty significant upgrade timing leads where he had 1-1 versus 0-0 and 2-2 just now completing versus 1-1. Serral took 2 incredible fights at timings where it was, 1-1 versus 1-1 just after his own 1-1 and completed. And then just before uThermal's 2-2 completed, he takes another good fight. Nice target fire on the planetary on those Baileys, but it's not going to matter worth a damn. He might get the cancel on this base as well. He's even going to take out the tank. Oh, no, it does get saved. Oh, my God, 7 HP.
Yeah, but man, Serral is disgusting, Steadfast. Like, we look at this game, and we look at all these things that uThermal is doing that... against most Zergs, we say, okay, yeah, he's putting on some good pressure. It feels like he's being interactive on the map. He's not letting Serral just sit back. He's doing... And then I just look at the map state. And I see that Serral is over 50% of the map on creep. He has not let any damage happen to him whatsoever. He just blew up the 5th base, or the 4th base, because he says, yeah, have Bailings will travel. And I have not... It doesn't seem like he's sweating at all. Like, it is... And I know, Serral GOAT, Serral, everyone's a Serral fanboy. Caster, please shut up. Serral, this game, he doesn't look like he's trying all that hard. It just looks like he is just everywhere where he needs to be. His scouting is so good. His map presence is so good, in part because his creep spread is outside of uThermal's third, by the way, that this is just becoming really hard here. As now Lings, they find their way on in. There's a bunch of undefended tanks. We're going to see 2, 3 of them go down, and Serral says, oh, yeah, let me back up. I got 3 tanks. That seems rather useful indeed.
And look at this Spore Crawler placement. So nice from Serral right here. He does have to cancel or possibly loses that base on the bottom side, but he's going to get all 3 metabacks. Meanwhile, on the left side, here is this drop coming on in. It does get the base, but uThermal lost like a lot to make that happen. And I want to point something out. The reason that Serral went in, you might have said, oh man, that's really weird to attack in here. He had a changeling. Serral is the most prodigious changeling user in the game. I don't think there's a player who uses them better, and it fits his style so much. He's always been that player who loves scouting, who loves information, never wants to be caught off guard, and he has started to use those more proactively to be the one who catches his opponent off guard, and we saw it right there. Great moves from Serral again and again and again and again.
That it is. Steadfast, did you see the Pixar movie about the kid who was like a merfolk?
I don't think that I did.
Called Luca. Anyway, we have.
Oh, okay, I heard about it. But
we got a fight kicking off here. Sorry, we'll make that comment later. It's good blinding clouds on top of these tanks. Banelings come spilling in everywhere, and the tanks, they're just not allowed to get a fight here whatsoever. Serral comes crashing in. I don't know that this necessarily ends the game. Actually, he's got enough Banelings to kill this planetary. Yeah, certainly with Adrenal. It's all dead. 25 workers are dead. Orbital at least will be able to replace, but again, even worse, Steadfast. uThermal, he kind of feels like he's in that Pixar movie because Luca di Supple.
Nice. That was... First of all, how dare you? Second of all, well done. Serral, man, he honestly, you kind of said it earlier. It's not that he's not trying. It's that he literally makes the game look effortless. And it's just, look at this. He even had a burrowed Zergling blocking this base. And then he says, oh, you know what? I have enough creep spread. I've got enough map control. I'm going to take this base. So he just unburrows the Zergling, kind of holding the spot. And more, God, these Spore Crawlers are so great from Serral. They just really keep him protected in a position in a game state where he doesn't have any natural anti-air besides the Viper's Parasitic Bomb.
This is always an interesting position, attacking to all these tanks, but we pointed out in the last fight, it is Lings, they're going in, but the tanks, they're just unprotected. So it doesn't matter that they have a lot of DPS. You just drop a Parasitic or a Blinding Cloud on a couple. Nothing else really matters. Here's Banelings. Is it even worth it to kill this planetary? There's nothing here. Serral says it is. He says he has more than enough. So uThermal back down onto 4 bases once again. And you know the benefit, uThermal has been taking this late. So he does have a lot of command centers. The problem is Steadfast. He doesn't have a lot of army, and he doesn't have a lot of SCVs to make these orbitals and these command centers actually worthwhile.
Look at that. Changeling again. Changeling again, keeping tabs on this. Another burrow move to force out another scan. Serral is actually cost efficient right now versus uThermal. He is actually ahead by the narrowest of margins in a ZVT versus bio. When he is going Massling Bane on the aggression, Serral, he's illegal. He can't be allowed to get away with it anymore.
Yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to nerf Zerg so Serral can have a competitive game is really what's happening at this point. One Ultra on the way because, you know, we gotta have the token Ultra, of course. But the Lings, the Banes, they come crashing in once again and again. The tanks are just not getting the shots they need. Again, uThermal loses his army. He's now gonna lose an orbital that is just gonna burn down because cracklings are a wonderful thing. 6-3 cracklings are scary indeed. And Serral, he takes game 1, and as you said, Steadfast, it looked effortless.
Yeah. And as someone who has tried to play that style and has had limited success, I can say that it is not easy at all. Serral, he's a master of the game. He is a master of the game, and it is such a treat to watch him. I'm excited to see what he has in store in game number 2. He kind of just put on a clinic there.
That he did. Very cool game there from Serral, but I gotta question uThermal's decision on how he wanted to play that game. It's Hardwire, right, which is not a good Terran map, unless you're Maru, right? Unless you're one of these really top-tier Terrans that is, you do excel in the late game when it doesn't feel like a lot of Terrans do. And you're against Serral, who already does favor that late game. Yes, sure, maybe aggression is a little harder on Hardwire because it's so long. But the decision to just, I'm going to go as quick 4 bases as possible, I don't know, man. That doesn't feel like where uThermal's strengths are anyways.
I mean, yes and no. Like, his strengths kind of rely on timings in the mid game, but it just uThermal he's a really good player, and Serral, it feels almost like he toyed with him.
Yeah. I mean, he went quick ultras. Like,
yeah.
if you want a statement there, ultras are not good. Ultras are good in this matchup in only very certain circumstances where you are so far ahead that throwing with ultras still has you in the game. And that's kind of where we were. Because any sort of, how many games, Steadfast, have we seen where it's ultra into throw? Or ultra into lose? Like, it is just, it's a meme at this point, because ultras are really terrible units in this matchup outside of some really specific circumstances. And Serral was able to build those circumstances in that first game, but there's always a second shot. There's always another opportunity. See if uThermal can do something here. Take us to game number 3. Serral's up 1, and 2,000 atmospheres is map 2.
Sure it is. Let's get into it. Spawning down to the bottom left, it's uThermal.
Gotta keep my caster on his toes. And in the upper right, in the red, he's up 1 now, and again, he's like that long distance runner that you just see jog 20 miles and doesn't break a sweat, and you're like, that's easy, right? And no, it's not. He is Serral.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. That makes me think of you've seen like Captain America, right? You've seen
cultural references. What is this? Absolutely not. Yes, I've seen Captain America.
So you've seen not Civil War? For Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Winter Soldier. So when he's like on your left, you know, it just that's what it has to feel like playing Serral. Is you have this guy, and he just you're running your absolute heart out, you're sweating, you're a physically fit guy, and then you have this actual literal super soldier just sprinting, like blowing past you over and over again, and it has to feel so demoralizing sometimes to play up against Serral. But we got to talk about this a little bit. Look at the build orders here. In theory, this is a very, very significant build order advantage for uThermal.
Yeah, going CC first like that, it does mean that you do get greed. I'm just worried. I talked about this last game. You know, CC first, especially against a early pool there from Serral. Yeah, it's a great build for uThermal, absolutely. But I'm just worried that it will not give uThermal the pressure on the map that he needs to actually go and, you know, force Serral to not win. Like, it's not even you want to win, is you force Serral to not win.
Yeah. I think I would have loved to have seen something tricky behind this. Maybe a quick set, like a quick 2-on-1 after CC first, a CC first powered 2-on-1 a la TY, or something maybe weird. I was gonna say I expect we'll probably see a proxy 2 racks going into this game, but Serral, he's thinking the same thing. He goes for that pool first. He's actually gonna find a potential SCV pickoff right here. Oh, and he's gonna get the full scout into the main base. Reaper, I mean, it's not that big of a scout realistically, and nice micro from Serral right there, pulling back that one wounded Zergling. Okay, that is gonna be a full scout. Yep. Doesn't really tell him any more information than he had going into the natural, so doesn't achieve that much. And if anything, losing the Zerglings, you know, it's not the greatest, but this is still such a good situation for Serral. I feel like just.
I mean, Steadfast. You talk about a build order perspective. Fantastic situation for uThermal. He's going 3cc against a pool first, where Serral really can't punish him. That is such an eco lead. But so I think what you're saying is this is a game that Serral is in, therefore it's a good situation for Serral. I got you.
Honestly,
okay, you know
kind
what?
of, yeah.
Check your bias at the door, but I understand what you're saying.
That was where my brain went. But it was like he knows that there's nothing weird coming. And so even though from a build order perspective, it is a very, very nice situation for uThermal, just the fact that Serral knows that it's a normal game and he knows that there's nothing untoward coming his way, he's going to be comfortable. And yeah, that is literally what my brain did, because I had just said before that, I was like, oh yeah, this is a really nice build order situation. And then my brain rewired itself and was like, no, Serral in game, Serral good, Serral winning. It's like, But Brain, nothing's happened. uThermal just has a slight build order advantage. Brain's like, Serral in, Serral good, Serral win.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's just how it works sometimes. But look, if there's a game that uThermal's going to win in a macro game, it's got to be this one. 2000 Atmospheres is a much more even map. It's not Super Zerg favored. Not only was this CC first against an early pool, it was CC first in a quick third CC as well. So advantage upon advantage, compounding those together. And Serral's creep spread, because that was a pool first, because you don't get queens quite as quickly. You get the one, sure, out of the main, but you don't have as much production off that natural, off the third as fast. Serral's creep is just not, it's not halfway across the map in 5 minutes. So everything going marginally better for uThermal in this game, but it remains to be seen how he can actually look to leverage that into an actual advantage. And Serral's playing super safe this game as well. That early Baneling nest tells us maybe he's worried about some sort of Hellbat play, something like that, but that very clearly is not the game plan.
Yeah, certainly. No, that's Serral just showing supreme confidence once again that it doesn't matter what the build orders are, he's saying. Ooh, Liberator coming into the natural will force a decent bit of lost mining time. Very nice drone pull right there. So you might have noticed he actually moves the drones, doesn't stop all of them, but pulls the ones. Oh, nice reposition here from uThermal. He's actually going to run in at the, oh my god, he's actually going to get a lot of damage. The roasty toasty Hellions getting 9 drones, and all of a sudden this is a very good situation for uThermal.
All right, so the game is even. Got it. Thank you, Steadfast. That's what you're. At least that's what you're going to tell me in about 30 seconds, right? Anyway, Liberator in the main base. He gets 10. He gets a little. Oh, yeah, he gets an 11th worker there, as or 11 total workers going down as the Queens finally knock that down. But I mean, okay, so looking at this rationally, not from a wow, Serral is so good. It looks like uThermal put his commencer in the wrong spot. That's always a bit awkward. But we're in this game now where uThermal, his upgrades are much faster. He should not move out until he has 1-1, by the way. I mean, that is the timing. Please don't hit anti-timings again, uThermal, where he is equal on workers compared to his opponent. Serral's 4th base is only halfway done now. I almost get the feeling like Serral's going to drop a Spire eventually with how delayed these Evo Chambers are. But anyways, a point being in this game, uThermal has literally he has every possible advantage he could want at this point. In a normal game, if his opponent is not Serral, we would say he is miles ahead. But as it stands, we're going to have to see how he can look to leverage that significant advantage that he's found himself into an actual winning game state.
I was going to say, it's, you know, he started it before I could make the call. I would love to see an 8 racks is what I was going to say.
Good call.
I think this is the situation where you go for it. You've got a nice advantage. You've gained a significant tempo advantage. You've done a lot of worker damage. I think this is it. This is where you go for it. And uThermal agrees. He is going to go for it. He doesn't have an armory, though, which means this may be the most committed 8 racks you can really do without a 2-2 upgrade setup. This is a really, really heavy commitment, and you're looking to win this game. Not right away, but you do not want this to go particularly long.
And it's going to be interesting to see as well whether he gets add-ons on top of these 3 additional barracks. And also, Steadfast, it is somewhat surprising to see the barracks in his main rather than outside of the 3rd if you are trying to really pile drive that. But there we go. Armory's on the way. He forgot it. That was not the game plan.
No, I thought it was the game plan, and I was like, okay, I'm not a big fan of this, but it will mean he hits with more power. But instead, he doesn't do so. Ooh, these banelings. Okay. They were just kidding. It was a prank, bro.
All right, so where does uThermal look to push with this? Again, the eventual goal with an 8 racks is you go and you just slam in there with a significant army supply lead with 1-1 with whatever you want, with 2-2. Generally with actually the almost maxed out 2-2 timing. The question is, where does uThermal look? Because Serral, we talked about his creep spread not the best, and it still is not as good as it was in that previous game, but he's got a 4th base and a 5th base done, and as you point out here, these changelings are in a wonderful spot. uThermal, did he hotkey those additional barracks?
I don't know, but he's not using them. He's not using them. Big fight breaking out, though, on the top side. These rocks for Serral are still up. Hold on. uThermal just took a very good fight right there, it looks like. Serral, uh-oh. He is getting pushed back. He needs to give up this base, I think. I don't think he can hold this.
the tanks. Now they're running on forward. It is so hard to make anything happen, and uThermal's doing a great job. He's also punishing the 6th base that Serral has opted to take, and yeah, Serral just gives this up. He says, oh, yep, okay, there we go. It's going to go down, but he kills that too. The second thing we got to talk about here is Serral's looking for a big surround, so maybe we're going to hold that thought for a second, but a good scan. uThermal knows where that is. He knocks 2 bases down for the price of 1, and he certainly found some value, and it looks like, okay, uThermal's not going to push in any further. The infestation pit was outside of that 4th base, so it makes it a lot harder to get to hive. Serral has this hive on the way now, so that's less important. As the Lings, they're going to find all this bio on the right side. uThermal has to pick that one up. It looks like his eyes are elsewhere, so he's going to save 4 Marines. Okay, and it trades decently well. I mean, not the worst positioning for those Marines. But uThermal, he gets 2 bases. He has his 2-2 on the way, but he's not going to have the timing lead anymore. He has his 4th base done. Honestly, he's still feeling very confident in this game.
Yeah, he certainly should be. We do see the creep, though, of Serral is quite good. However, it's not that far forward on the right. He does see this army rotating over with some of the creep that's kind of pinching its way forward. And uThermal, look at this one creep room. It's literally underneath the tank. If we look at his vision, he gets so much information. He gets to see 3 tanks, actually, with that. That is massive. That providing the vision of 2 of the tanks in the bushes. Oh, he almost just killed his own tank with a friendly fire right there. Oof.
I feel bad. We got to point out, by the way, Serral's expansion patterns this game are almost disrespectful. I mean, he's got the bottom right here where he has absolutely no creep nearby. Or maybe it is just the whole, okay, I kind of need to get a base that will be able to stay up as uThermal Mark Schlappy runs on in. But Serral, he's pulling the trigger now with his upgrades. 2-2 is done. But the tank spread's actually really nice here. uThermal splitting back as well as he can. But the Banelings, they still run on forward. But no, uThermal, he wins the fight on the left side. He wins the fight on the right side. But if we look at the supply, the gap is not as bad as it once was. More Banelings on the way. How many do we have on the field? 16 right now. Serral looking to chase him back. He forces a lift up. uThermal's got to go home. The fight looked good for a moment, Steadfast. Oh, this is a problem. uThermal, don't drop here. That's a little bit too close. A little bit too ballsy there, my friend.
Yeah, he's trying to use this Liberator to, like, secure this location. Serral doesn't want to let him have it. We do have a little Ling run by trying to get something done. uThermal trying to secure a 4th base. But Serral, even though he was knocked so far back on his heels, it is absolutely not over. I feel like that fight actually went pretty good for him because he killed all the tanks. It was a massive, massive arc from both sides. And Serral, there was actually a moment where a ton of Banelings were all clustered up in the middle. And if uThermal had target fired those with his tanks, would have been a good situation. Ooh, nice job. Does intercept these Zerglings at the watchtower. Good job from uThermal. He's holding important positions with this.
Yeah, so this attempted, I guess, 5th base, because uThermal's also trying to get a 4th base elsewhere, but I believe that has been burrowed out as the biostims forward here, trying to knock some queens down before anything happens in earnest. Spores run forward, and that is something that you've pointed out, Steadfast, that Serral has been very good at this game, where he just has spores everywhere. But now there's the scary position. On the one hand, you say, yeah, a Terran, they can run forward and they can rally through their base, and that's what makes parade pushes good. But also, if you go for a push like that, you're forced to lift up. Suddenly, your rally, your 4th base is very close to where the Zerg is pushing you from, so it can be scary the other way. But uThermal does survive that one. Has he been able to take that base on the left side? No, it's just floating there. It's not even a burrow action. It's a free command center. He's just floating. He's having a good time. He's chilling out.
The creep, though, has been pushed back continuously over and over again, and the position is very difficult to deal with. Serral needs to give up this base, I think. He cannot hold it. The Viper's trying to desperately charge up energy, but this tank line and Liberator position is way too deep. No transition into Ghost. It is do or die off mid-game units. A nice flank coming in from Serral, but I don't think he could take that fight, and he is going to actually suffer some big losses here. uThermal looking very, very good in this game. He's going to push this army back, gets the kill on the base. Meanwhile, dropping a natural will get dealt with pretty effectively, but uThermal is really making moves here.
Oh, that he is. He got a spore as well, so it makes any drop later on. He's going to target down the infestation pit as well, or just some Lings. That's fine. Infestation pit at this point not super relevant unless uThermal finds some way to actually knock the hive down. This is not the game state where we really care about infestors all that much. And I gotta point out here, I said it was a bit of a disrespectful expand pattern, but it does seem to have been the right move there from Serral. He is fully mining from that base in the bottom right corner, at least 50% mining. That is a base that eventually uThermal will want to take. So he's stealing money from him. And again, uThermal doesn't know about it. So he feels better in this game state than he might otherwise. Well, then he should, because he says, oh, well, you know, my opponent is back down on 4 bases. And even still, though, uThermal, this push running forward is getting a lot of value. Steadfast, the other thing we got to point out, though, uThermal pulled a Byun. He forgot his +3 armor.
Well, I mean, Byun would be forgetting the attack and getting the armor instead. We are seeing the Ling run by, trying to get in here for Serral. He's stutter stepping the lanes to try and get in on top of everything, but uThermal with some good positioning will deal with that. I want to point something out, by the way. uThermal perfectly spread his Liberators just so that they would barely not be in parasitic bomb of range of one another. As I say that, he literally does it immediately and loses 1 Liberator as a result. But before that, he was doing, you know, a good job with that. Serral, you do not want to have to use Parasitic Bomb to kill Liberators slowly but surely over time. There is a lot of units on creep, but the tank line is very deep. Nice Blinding Cloud on these couple of tanks. And Serral actually going to take a surprisingly good fight here. Going a lot better than I expected. That Blinding Cloud helping out a lot. Oh, Command Center died on the ground. That is not supposed to happen there.
That was a planetary too, Steadfast. I guess he just didn't have any SCVs to repair, so it's a great move. It is a great series of moves that uThermal has done. He has swept the entire right side outside of this bottom base that has been so successful for Serral already, but he has knocked down the 6th base, the 5th base, a macro hatch, starting to get in onto tech, and Serral, his +3 attack is also kind of delayed here. We do need uThermal to notice, by the way, that he's lacking that armor, but Serral coming in now, tank siege, that's not going to work out. At least uThermal has the most important upgrade, +3. And now if uThermal's able to wedge his way in just a little bit further, he's going to be able to lock out the upper 2 left bases from Serral, at which point Serral will be effectively a 3-base Zerg, a 4-base Zerg, which is not, oh, the drones on the transit, but no, Serral, he's going to buffer for them and says, you will be able to escape because I will sacrifice my army for you. So the drones get out, but that means that these 2 bases on the left side, they are now forfeit in this game, at least for now. And we talked about how good Serral is in the late game, but uThermal has done such a fantastic job of leveraging early game leads into mid game leads into late game leads. And this is well, certainly in this tournament, this is the best I've seen anyone really play Serral. This is fantastic from uThermal.
It certainly is. He's doing a phenomenal job here. We are going to see the Viper, gets sniped, but it does get the Parasitic Bomb. Unfortunately, not going to be able to take out too much with that. Mostly just forcing an unsiege on that Liberator. But the positioning has been phenomenal throughout. Parasitic Bomb will kill off this Liberator here. We're seeing Ultra starting to hit the field. Serral, he might actually get away with this both corner bases at this point. We are having just a ton of bio here. Even with the creep, Serral cannot hold. He's been giving up bases over and over and over again, and uThermal is really looking good here. Ultralisk pops out, loses 2/3 of his HP almost immediately without that chitinous plating.
Steadfast, are we going to see Serral lose his first map in a lot? Did he? I don't know if he even lost a map last season in the group stage. We about to see Serral lose his first map in quite a while. It kind of looks like it is. Now, we don't have any Ghost Academy on the field here for uThermal. Serral does have the corner bases, and Serral is not really aware of that. So we don't have the ultra. We don't have the ultimate ultra counter, although Liberators are nice. And maybe that's something that Serral can look to happen here, as he does have an upgrade lead running on forward. Liberators, they siege on up, though. And, I mean, they're just not killing the Ultras quickly enough. Their Parasitic Bomb on the Liberators as well will eventually kill them. uThermal on retreat, even with that supply lead, because it's not all there. And it feels like with this Ultra Tech swing, at least for the moment, Serral has been able to buy himself a good deal of time.
Yeah, and uThermal is only on 58 SCVs. This is a situation where he would win this game almost 100% if he finds out about both corner bases. He does find this base on the top left, gets 10 drones, but he still doesn't necessarily know about the bottom right. At this point, you have to be scratching your head. How does Serral still have money? I've killed, how many hatcheries? He's killed 7, now 8 hatcheries as this one on the top left goes down. This is so much damage. The cost efficiency of uThermal has been over 12,000 in favor, nearly 50% more efficient. But you got to be wondering, how is Serral even still producing units?
Yeah, Steadfast, you point out the 12,000 advantage. I'm looking at this as like, how is it only 12,000 with how this game has been going? But here comes a fight coming on in from every side. But this tank line from uThermal is just disgusting here. Ultras, they're trying to find something, but as uThermal, he kites on backwards. The Banely's getting targeted down, and Marauders, they're pretty good against Ultras. They're not ghosts, but they're still pretty damn good. And we say, actually, well, you know, the supply's starting to equalize a little bit. Serral is very down in that gas count, so he really just has to build lings. He's going to lose another base here. As uThermal, the drones, they got to get out, and Serral will get them out in time. That fight actually went a lot better for Serral than I thought it would. We really are seeing the impact of lacking that +3 armor, and in fairness, the economic situation uThermal finds himself in. He had 6 bases. He's only on 4 now.
Yeah, and he's actually lifted his main command center over towards that left side. uThermal, oh my god, he's finally gonna find it. He finds the base, finally. He's gonna look at the mineral count and be like, wait, Serral, you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to take hidden bases. That's illegal. That's what SOS does. You're a proper macro Zerg. How can you do this? And now the Ultras, they do have the high ground. They are gonna jump on top of this army. uThermal is low on medevac energy, but he still has, like you said, a lot of Marauders.
That he does. I mean, I clicked on the mineral patch for a second. The weak one was a solid 60% mined out. You know, the low mineral patches were 60, 70% mined out. Serral got so much value out of that position, but it's now gone. He cannot rely on that one anymore. But, you know, Serral as a player who this late game god is able to seesaw the focus of the map back and forth. He loses the bottom right. Sure, that's horrible. But he has the upper left again. And he is still mining. He's in fact mining a lot more than uThermal. uThermal now down below 1,000 minerals a minute. And for the first time in 15 minutes, Steadfast, somehow Serral has an army supply lead.
Yeah, he has played this out phenomenally. And this, more than almost anything we can say, is a testament to Serral's ability, because he has been on the ropes for about the last 10 to 12 minutes. And he has never faltered. He's always made great decisions that have given him opportunities back into this game. And now he finds himself, like you said, in an army supply lead. There are no ghosts, no Ghost Academy. uThermal, he didn't even get +3 armor. He's down in upgrades now.
Oh, he's been down upgrades for like the last 10 minutes in this game. He's just forgotten about it and really not had the gas that he needs to make that happen. But finally, we do see a Ghost Academy on the way. That Serral looks like he's steamrolling into counter, but it's not going to happen. We do need to point out, though, this is a very Ling-heavy army and not a lot of Banes, not a lot of Ultras, because in part, Serral is mining almost no gas. In part, this is a super Marauder heavy army here, and those parasitic bombs are fantastic. So many of those medevacs will go down here. uThermal trying to retreat back to the safety of his tanks, but there is no safe to be found there. For the moment, Serral, he does back up. But from a game where at points, uThermal was literally up 70 army supply, it's now +30, +40 in Serral's favor. uThermal does have that bottom right base, and he will start to mine from it, but Serral's already stolen half of it.
Yeah, that's a really great point. You mentioned this earlier, and I always kind of tuck those away, those thoughts of like, oh, well, this should be uThermal's base. And I'm like, yeah, but it's usually not that big of a deal. This is a huge deal. Oh, this Link counterattack, a tank. Oh, the Link counterattack gets in and he just taps out.